This white man was slammed for asking social media what to do with his newborn black daughter's hair. Now, the background to this story is he basically adopted a daughter, little black girl. I don't like they don't say what the exact backstory is, but soon as the woman gave birth to the child, he immediately had the child and had skin to skin contact and all of this stuff like this, which we're going to get into later. But he basically took to social media to ask what to do with a black girl's hair.
I'm hoping to get this TikTok over to Black TikTok. Any black parents? We have adopted a black baby. Her name is Zoe, and I don't know what to do for her hair. I have this little brush. I have something from Shea Moisture. I really don't know what to use. So please, any black parents or anyone who knows what to do with black children's hair, please help me in the comments. Thank you.
Do you see that as a normal question or something to ask? Like, do you see anything wrong with it? Let me ask you that. Did you see anything wrong with him asking that question?
I actually do not see anything wrong with it. He
Okay.
definitely went
Don't
out there and it's just posing a question. I need help. Help me. That's it.
okay. So again, this is the issue I have with black folks, us, our community, trying to say everything is racist or, you know, putting race on everything. Because according to the article and blowback from what people did, last month, white TikToker by the name of Willpower publicly begged blacks, excuse me, TikTokers on tips what to do with his newborn black daughter's hair in a viral video that seemed more likely on a Saturday Night Live sketch than real life. Now, you could tell the person that wrote this article, they really are biased and don't like the fact that this guy did this. The backlash was just so ridiculous. I'm like, you know what? Let them explain it because they're talking about, oh, you shouldn't have to do nothing with the hair. Look at the brush he's using, brushing the hair, all this crap. So check it out.
And in the world that we live in, social media, I think especially in that generation, your first thought is go to social media and just ask everybody. But there's
Exactly.
probably people that actually could have given him a little bit more advice or did a little bit of research. But at the end of the day, the baby's a newborn. The baby's hair is probably going to fall out anyway, and you
Mhm.
never know. My children, we have three children between us. Two of our children, one child has my hair texture, one child has a mix, and one child has his. So it's just, and my nephew's the same way. So its hair is something that it's not that big of a deal in the sense that you can learn what you don't know.
See, now what she said wasn't too bad because of course
With it.
she's mixed. I mean, well, she has
So,
mixed babies or
but
whatever. So what she said what like wasn't bad. And like as far as like saying, hey, this is racism or whatever the case may be. She's like, yo, he wants to know, he took to social media, and that's that. Basically, exactly what you said. So let's see what the black woman had to say.
it sounds as though I need to go to Black TikTok or Black something to deal with hair. As a professional, we believe that hair is a type, not a facial color, or it's not a race.
Mhm.
So there are a multitude of people who have curly to straight hair, but at 3 months old, as she just talked about,
Right.
there is nothing to do. And so it looked as though he's very inexperienced with the baby. It also, it just feels
But any new
appropriation.
parent would be inexperienced, all right.
Any new
Thank you. So I'm gonna stop it right there. If you're a person that don't know, why would you be getting flack for asking these questions? That's the thing. That's the thing I want to know. Because if you've never been a parent and you have a newborn and you're like, what do I do with the hair, whatever? How is that looked upon as racist? That's what I want to know. Maybe you could fill me in on how can that be presumed as being racist?
Okay. The only reason I'm thinking the whole racist thing came out is because he blatantly said, "Hey, this is for black TikTok." If he did not say this is for black TikTok, nobody would have batted a lash. They wouldn't because you wouldn't have had nothing to say other than, "Hey, I have a child with hair texture different than mine and I need some help." That's it.
All right. So let me ask you this. If I wanted to know something about I don't know. Let's just say if I wanted to know something about rednecks or something like that, right? If I put out a PSA, I'm going to make it straight to rednecks. Or if I have a question about white culture, I'm gonna say, "Hey, white people, da 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 da." If I don't know that something is, if I only saw something that's in white culture, but black people partake in that culture too, but I've never seen it, my question is going to say, "Hey, if I need to know XYZ, I need to go to white culture." So I'm going to pose the question, "Hey, white people." Now, after I'm educated on it, like, yo, that's not only a white thing, that's a black thing. Okay, now that I'm educated, now you can hold it against me. But clearly from the way he's speaking, it's like, yo, black baby, black hair. I'm not gonna ask white people, so I gotta ask black people. Where do I go? Black Twitter. Hey, black Twitter, can you help me? And I think Black Twitter is an actual thing. So people are looking at it as him saying Black Twitter as like making it a racial thing. No, he's literally reaching out to Black Twitter. Whenever something happens, what do people say in articles? Black Twitter said XYZ. Black Twitter went about. So why can't he say, "Hey, Black Twitter, I want to know XYZ?" Because that's where all the black people are.
Correct. And like I told you, I don't feel like he was doing anything out of the norm. I really don't. I just feel like people are going to twist people's words and take it out of context because that's them. They added their feelings into the circumstance. Because to me, like I said, you already saw I had similar
Hmm.
logic or similar thinking that the first guest said. So that's why I'm like, to me, it wasn't a big deal. I'm
Yeah.
inexperienced. This is a newborn.
Hmm.
I don't know what to do. And
Now,
if
let
you
me ask you
Google,
this.
and I got you one, if you Google
Uh-huh.
newborn hair, it will clear it tells you. All you have to do is just brush it and make sure it doesn't get cradle cap.
Yeah, but you got people who, when you look at stuff at the internet, like for instance, you was telling me how you was looking up stuff on the internet, and then when you went to the doctor, they're like, "Stay off the internet. Stop believing everything you read on the internet." You get what I'm saying? So you get
Yeah.
some people who, even though they read it on the internet, they're like, "Yo, I still need validation from somebody who can tell me up close and personal." But here's my question, right? If we expect, like, okay, we look at it as that's offensive that this person did that this white guy did that, right? How is he supposed to know that it's offensive if he can't even come out and speak to people without them ostracizing them? So now what's going to happen is people going forward are not even going to want to at least ask the question or get to know, because you're putting them through the ringer. Why is this person going to try and take time to ingratiate himself or understand black people? Or why would a black person take time to understand a white person if, when they take the time to try to understand, you take them through the ringer?
That
How is that beneficial?
and that's the
That
thing though. You have so many people that are of mixed races that it shouldn't matter. People should be able to ask those kind of questions because
Yep,
yes, I could have kids and their hair texture not look like mine's at all. So, yes, I wholeheartedly agree. If you're new to this thing, you should be able to ask. People don't
facts.
always want to believe the stuff on Pinterest or Google or whatever site that they're searching. So, yes, there has to be people and conversations to make sure that, hey, what I'm doing is correct. Because I guarantee you, on the opposite, if he don't do nothing to that baby hair and it start falling out and looking patchy, somebody going to say
Yep.
something to him about it. So he's
Very-
trying to prevent that stuff from happening.
Why do adoptive parents think it's okay to take a womb wet baby and cosplay with them? Literally womb wet. So you guys have seen this video, the one with the dad asking the black community for help with his black daughter, that he emphasized the black like 9 times on that video. He then said he was going to black talk into the internet because he didn't have anywhere else to turn to. He was just looking for information. And after a little bit of investigation, my question is, why didn't you ask that mother, the one, the one who gave birth to your daughter Zoe? You were in her hospital room for literally 5 days. Why didn't you ask her about her black daughter's hair when she was literally with you? Oh, you were too busy having photo ops in the operation room while she was literally pushing her baby out. And while your husband was cutting the umbilical cord, you were recording videos, and then you did skin to skin immediately after she was born, right next to her mother. I don't know who this mother is, but unlike you, I'm going to block her face to conceal her identity and for confidentiality, which you should have given her the honor on one of the most tremendous days of her life. And
So this is what I gotta say, right? If immediately after birth was given to this child, right? And he gets the skin to skin, that tells me one or two things. That tells me either she was a surrogate or something like that for the child, or they had something in play. And let me ask you this, Erica P. If you're a person who know this is going to be transactional or you want nothing to do with the child, right? Would you want to hold that child right after you give birth? Or would you be like, nah, I don't want to touch the child so I don't gain that connection because this is what we had in play.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say. You don't know what the whole gist is, but with surrogates, a lot of times if it's a contract-based surrogate, there are things put in their contracts. They may She may have only had an hour with the baby. She may not have had any time at all. And my thing is, you're right. If I'm giving up this child for adoption, I do not want to have any attachment because then guess what? In the back of your mind, you're always going to be like, hey, I had the
Yeah.
moment and now I can't get that feeling out. So I'm like,
And
it really depends on if this was a job or if this really
mhm,
was, hey, I'm gonna have this kid. I'm not ready, and I found a family
mhm,
for this child.
mhm.
Those are completely different scenarios. But no, as a mom, if I'm not the one doing that skin to skin, I know I'm not building those bonds.
Which is why, like, when I saw this clip, I was like, really? Like, that's the narrative you go to? Like, now, if the mother came out years later and said something, then of course my opinion is going to change. But we live in a time of social media. If the mother didn't come out and say something, why would you even go to that measure of saying this like, oh, it was painful? She could have been saving herself from the pain to make sure that it stays transactional. When he was saying this, the comment section, right? Let me take it out of full screen. The comment section. I hope Zoe's mom is doing okay. I can only imagine how hard this is for her. She's a 23-year-old foster youth. She just needed resources. Skin to skin with a stranger is absolutely insane. The child is merely an accessory. God help her. The skin to skin next to mom brought tears to my eyes. Oh my God. Like, yo, you don't even know the circumstances, and these are the comments. Like, it's just bananas. But let's continue.
the thing I want to address is you said you didn't have enough time to prepare for this child because she was a last minute placement, saying that you only had 2 months to prepare, which can happen. But you had enough time to make memes of you being pregnant with your husband. That's weird. Also had enough time to become a parent content creator and try to do sponsored posts, but you didn't have enough time to even educate yourself on your daughter's black hair.
Okay, you know what this tells me, Erica P, and tell me if I'm wrong. This guy must not have no kids. The reason why I say that he must have not have no kids is because no matter how much you prepare for a child, if you've never had a child, nothing can prepare you for a child until the child gets here.
That is correct.
Nothing can prepare you. So you're talking out of your anus.
Okay, but think about how they said this. So yes, this is completely different now. It gives different dynamic to the story, right? They said you only had 2 months for placement, right? That
Hmm.
meant they did not have the full 9 months that most people would have when they plan for a kid. Think
Hmm.
about it. Some of those people comments are extremely harsh because no, you do not know what that mom's circumstance is. But at
And if
the
you're
end of
sa-
the day, the mom
Mhm.
decided, "Hey, I would rather my child's parents than end up in the system."
and here's the thing, if you're saying 2 months, that means that this mother was looking for a while to find competent people to actually raise this child. Something had to be on her end where she's like, yeah, this isn't for me, so I need to find the best couple or best person that's going to be able to raise this child. But let's continue.
I really wanted to give you the benefit of the doubt that you were an adoptive parent that was doing this for the right reasons and not for content and not for clout or self praise. But unfortunately, but that's not what it's looking like. You paraded that baby out days after it was born, going to hotels, going to events with a fresh baby. And you clearly showed no concern for that birth mother, especially by showing her face on your public platforms. Now that Black mother has to see her daughter on Black Talk because it went viral, and her face now on your social media platforms, which I'm sure people were going to start to share. I hope that you take this time, because adoption is permanent and you're in this permanent agreement. I hope you take the time to listen to transracial adoptees.
What about these celebrities that parade with their child out in public taking pictures? Does that
See,
mean that they're not concerned parents? Does that mean that they're looking for photo ops? These are the questions that I have, because by your logic, it seems like you're painting this picture because this is a white man adopting a Black child. Where's this same energy for these celebrities that sit there and promote babies? What, like, for instance, where's this energy for like a sexy red who's pregnant and dancing around with her belly and all this stuff and in a hospital before she give birth, twerking on the hospital bed, doing all this stuff? Can't one say that's for clout?
it is.
Can't somebody say that's a photo op? Like, so what are we doing here? Go
Okay.
ahead, floor is yours.
I was gonna say you threw a whole bunch of questions at me, like I'm gonna remember to answer every one of these questions.
I'm just
Um,
saying, because it's annoying, man. Like, and this is why I understand where we have our white counterparts that get pissed off on hearing blacks go on a tangent about race. Because it's like, yo, not everything is freaking racist if you do a little bit of critical thinking.
but
So go ahead.
I am gonna throw it out there. I feel like when people adopt, they're looking for a child. Do you not understand when somebody goes to adopt, you have to adopt what's available at the time that you're looking.
I
And
got
if
one for you too, Erica P. Hold that thought. Do you know who are the most adopters when it comes to black babies? Our
it,
white counterparts. So what
correct.
does that tell you? Black people are not adopting black babies like that.
Okay, you have to think about it, right? When you look at adoption and foster care, they're completely different. When you adopt, that means you are taking on the financial responsibility of that child. You have more black people that foster children than you do having them adopt them off the rip.
But what does that tell you, Erica P? That tells you that you're looking at black kids as a come up, as opposed to actually trying to raise them as your own child. That's even worse. That's not making a good argument.
I'm not making a argument one way
No,
or the
no,
other,
I'm
but
not
that's
talking
the
about
fact.
you. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about our culture in general. Cause it's like, oh, we forced, yeah, you're looking up at a as a business transaction. Whereas white people are literally saying, yo, I want to raise this child as my own. So how could you be mad at that? And
So
I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's parent." No, I'm looking at this from a logical standpoint. And the point is, the more you keep freaking bringing race into the equation when the situation is not racist, that's where you're gonna get the pushback. That's where you're gonna get the yeah, buts, because it's only but so much that you could cry wolf and say racist, racist, racism, racism, and the situation is not really racist. That makes your cries fall on deaf ears, and that's a problem.
you have to think about it though. If it is race based, it will spin a lot faster than you just taking the facts and putting it out there.
So then we're at a loss, because what basically this conversation just told me, money and selling out and all this other thing is what really matters, not what's better for black culture or ending this divisiveness.
Correct. Because
That's basically
unfortunately,
what it's telling me.
yes, but you have to think about it. The more people are divided, the more people can spin their own narratives. When people become united, you can't get as much stuff from each side. Think about it. If we all started looking at the story, the whole story, and figuring out that the differences really aren't that far fetched and far off,
Mhm.
you wouldn't have the same plights anymore. You could stop having it be race based, and it could be either a wealth thing, it could be a generational thing. Like you could start changing those narratives.
See, but here's the thing. I believe that if the race thing came to kind of end, so to speak, that that's going to build tighter and stronger communities, so to speak, because you could have all the disparities with wealth, you could have all these politics, red, blue, all of these things. That means nothing if your culture, not your culture, your community is tight knit. Because guess what? If my community is tight knit, look at it back in the 80s when I was growing up. The communities were tight knit. If my family is struggling where we don't have milk, yo, you got cereal, I got milk, I bet. Let's make it work. Yo, you got this, I got that. All right, let's make it work. You can have whatever policies you want. Culture eat policy any day of the week.
Correct.
So if you have the culture to eradicate the divisiveness, it don't matter what policies they put into place. Left,
And
right, whatever the case may be.
you have to think about it. You're so right. But the problem is, people don't always look outside of what they immediately see. So if you don't look outside of what you immediately see, what do you start doing? You start looking for information where information
Mhm,
is. You look
mhm.
online, you watch the news. You know how many times I look at a news story and be like, hey, I'm right there in this area. I don't know this
Don't
stuff.
even know them. Like, that's
I
my
don't even
neighbor?
know what's
Really?
going on.
Like, had a whole Jeffrey Dahmer living right next door to you and you had no clue. Like,
But to me in passing, you was cool people.
yeah,
You
exactly.
took your trash can in the back the same time every day.
Yeah, it's so
You
bad
you
that
drove up the street
it,
round the corner I waved
it's
at
so
you, and guess what? You weren't looking at me.
it's so bad that if you was gonna be if you're late to work one more time, you'll get fired, and you risk that possibility of taking your son to school, and your neighbor's like, "Nah, don't worry, I could take him to school." You would rather risk getting fired than letting your kid go with that neighbor to get dropped off at school. Like that's where we're at. You get what I'm saying? So it's bananas, man. It's bananas.
But
All right.
you're but guess what? You're only there because of all of the other stories that you
Yeah.
hear.
Yeah, which is what I'm saying. If the communities were solid and the divisiveness of race was out the picture, it doesn't matter what they're putting in the media because the culture in our communities is that much tight. So we will be like, yo, that's BS. Get that ish out of here, you know? So it is what it is, man. But hopefully we come to eradicating this and, we progress as far as ending this divisiveness and forming unity. But again, in order to do that, we do got to accept our ugly history as well, the ugly history of the nation. So that is important. That is definitely important.
It's a matter of opinion.